Let's dive into one of the absolute strangest unsolved cases of the 20th century. Seriously, it's a story that has zero clear answers, but it's given us two of the most creative and out there explanations you will probably ever hear. You're going to want to stick around for this.
So picture this. We're on a remote, grassy hill near Rio de Janeiro. It's the kind of place people tended to stay away from, pretty secluded. But on this particular day, a kid who is just trying to find his lost kite, well, he stumbles onto a scene that has kept people guessing for more than half a century.
He finds two bodies, just lying there side by side. But this is no ordinary crime scene, not by a long shot. The men are dressed up in full suits, like they're headed to a wedding. But then they've also got these waterproof coats on. There are no signs of a fight, nothing. And then, there's the weirdest part. These strange, almost homemade-looking lead masks are just placed over their eyes. Next to them, just a few simple things, and a notebook filled with what looks like some kind of secret code.
And inside that notebook, they find this. It says, 4:30 p.m., be at the determined place. 6:30 p.m., swallow capsules. After the effect, protect metals and wait for the mask's signal. I mean, this note is everything. It feels like it should be the key to the whole mystery, but what in the world does any of that actually mean? Okay, so obviously the police get involved right away. But instead of clearing things up, the investigation just makes the whole situation even more confusing. It seemed like every new clue just added another layer of, wait, what, to the puzzle. So who were these guys? They weren't spies, they weren't big-time criminals. They were Miguel Jose Viana and Manuel Pereira de Cruz. Just a couple of regular electronics repairmen. They had wives, families, and they were really into this thing at the time called scientific spiritualism, which was basically a mix of science, tech, and paranormal beliefs. And check out this timeline because it's incredibly tight, which only makes the mystery deeper. On the morning of August 17th, they leave home telling their families they're just going on a routine work trip. But by that very same afternoon, they're spotted climbing Vintem Hill. Just 3 days later, they're found dead. What could have possibly gone down in such a short amount of time?
This right here was the maddening question for the police. You've got two bodies and a totally bizarre scene, but absolutely no obvious cause of death. No bullet holes, no knife wounds, no signs of an attack at all. Nothing.
And this is where the official investigation just hits a wall. Hard. Because of some delays, by the time they get to the autopsy, the bodies are just too decomposed to get any reliable test results from their organs. The toxicology reports, they come back with nothing. So with no cause of death, the police really had nowhere else to go. The case was shelved, leaving this huge vacuum that, as you can imagine, was about to be filled with some wild deer. So, with the official story going nowhere, we enter the world of speculation. And the first big theory, well, it's a real product of its time. We're in the 1960s, right? The golden age of UFOs. So people started asking, could Fiana and de Cruz have been getting ready for a meeting, not with other people, but with something not from this world?
Now, the whole basis for this theory really comes down to this one incredible eyewitness account. A local woman was driving by with her kids, and she told police she saw a classic flying saucer, an orange oval-shaped craft hovering right over Vintem Hill at the exact time the men would have been up there. She said it would rise up, then come back down, before just zipping away.
So how does this UFO theory explain all the weird evidence? Well, it goes something like this. The men planned this meeting. The capsules from the note, that was something they took to prepare themselves for contact. And the lead masks suddenly have a purpose. They were to shield their eyes from the blinding light of the UFO, just like the witness described. But in this version of the story, something goes horribly, horribly wrong. Maybe the energy from the craft was just too much for them, or maybe those capsules were the real problem.
So if you believe this theory, Viana and de Cruz become these tragic heroes, right? They're these amateur explorers who got closer than maybe anyone ever has to making contact with aliens. But they ended up paying the ultimate price for it. It's a really compelling story, and honestly, it does a pretty good job of explaining almost all the bizarre stuff at the scene.
Okay, so that first theory sounds like something straight out of classic sci-fi. But hold on, because there is another interpretation that is way, way stranger. It comes from a source that actually weaves the lead mask's case into a much bigger, much more secret mythology of our world.
This second theory just flips the whole script. In this version, the men aren't just hobbyists messing around with things they don't understand. No, they're highly trained professionals. Their mission wasn't to make first contact. It was just another day at the office. An office that just happens to span multiple dimensions. Okay, so to get this next theory, you have to understand this one key idea, Taured. The story goes that there's a parallel Earth out there, home to this civilization called Taured, and their agents can do something called a time slip. Basically, travel between different dimensions to carry out secret missions on other Earths, including ours. It's this incredibly complex and fascinating piece of world building.
And this theory doesn't just stop with the lead masks case. Oh no, it goes big. It reinterprets dozens of famous mysteries as just little footnotes in this secret interdimensional war. Roswell? That wasn't an alien ship. It was a supply drop for Tauradian agents. The Zodiac Killer? Not one of us. A rogue agent from another dimension. This story creates an entire secret world hiding just under the surface of our own.
So this theory gives us a totally different set of explanations. Viana and De Cruz, they were Tauridian agents on a mission, here on our Earth. That capsule they took, it was actually a special paste they needed to travel back to their home dimension. The masks weren't for some alien light. They were to protect them from the dangerous energies of the dimensional shift itself, dark gravity poisoning. And the cause of death? Get this, it wasn't some cosmic mystery. It was a shockingly mundane, human error. They took the wrong stuff, a fatal mix-up.
So there you have it. You've got one set of very strange facts and two completely different, totally elaborate stories that were built to explain them. So what does that tell us about what makes a good mystery so good?
I mean, let's just put them side by side. On the one hand, you have this story of brave but maybe naive explorers who were reaching for the stars. On the other, a tale of professional spies from another world who were taken down by a simple, dumb mistake. One is a tragedy of ambition. The other is a tragedy of, well, of error. What is so fascinating to me is that both of these stories are really trying to do the same thing. They're trying to create order out of chaos. When the real investigation leaves a giant blank space, our imagination just rushes in to fill it. These stories give a reason for the suits, a purpose for the masks, and a meaning to that final, bizarre note.
You know, one of the sources we looked at for this explainer actually ends with this line. And maybe that's the real appeal of a case like this one. It's a space where the impossible can feel totally real, precisely because we know we're probably never going to find out what really happened on that hill.
In the end, the lead masks case is way more than just an unsolved file. It's kind of like a mirror. It forces us to ask ourselves what kind of story we find more believable, a random, tragic encounter with the cosmos, or a secret world that's operating by its own hidden rules. When the facts just aren't there, the story we choose to believe says a lot about us. So, what kind of story do you choose? Thanks for watching.